First, Great Wall produced pickups and solid SUVs, then SUVs, they called them CUVs, but also more utilitarian than stylish. In 2011, it's time for crossovers. And there was Hover H6. Everyone is submissive to the call of the times, even the most mossy traditionalists, not to mention Chinese automakers who have not yet had time to eat all the dogs on innovation, but, having earned some money, they seek to invest it as soon as possible in updating production and their own developments. They begin, as a rule, with the purchase of brains. One of their most successful acquisitions was the designer Matthias Duffel, who was noted for the creation of the second-generation Mercedes-Benz ML and the GLK crossover. In general, look at the H6 sideline and everything will become clear. Matthias is not the only foreign specialist who has worked for Great Wall. Say, driving performance and suspension brought engineers and testers from Lotus. The Japanese worked with the engines, the Koreans worked with the transmission. The first show of the concept took place in 2009 at an exhibition in Shanghai. The potential of the prototype was so highly valued that it was decided to build a separate plant for it in the city of Tianjin. I was at its opening. A huge enterprise, designed to produce 600,000 cars a year, with its own testing ground and a real town for workers that grew up nearby. True, the plant's capacities were not mastered as quickly as the management would like. The crisis intervened, and the millionth H6 rolled off the assembly line only in 2015. Although in the early years the success was such that the cars simply did not have time to ship, and there was a queue for the new crossover. Like all Great Wall SUVs, the Hover H6 crossover is a 5-door station wagon. But, unlike the others, it has a load-bearing body, and the suspension is completely independent. There is a front-wheel drive version. In Russia, mono-drive H6s were sold, to put it mildly, sluggishly. Officially, the crossover debuted on the Russian market in 2011, but the first cars appeared in dealer showrooms in 2012. It then cost about 700,000 rubles, which was noticeably more expensive than, say, an H5 SUV. At first, the cars were with a manual transmission and 2 power plant options, a 1.5-liter turbocharged petrol 4 with a displacement of 1.5 liters and a 2-liter turbo diesel, well known from other Great Wall models. Another motor was announced at the stage of launching into the series, but in the end it never appeared. This is a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter gasoline engine with 136 horsepower, which was placed on other Great Wall SUVs. The 6-speed manual transmission is quite reliable. Dissatisfaction causes only a large gap between the first and second gears. It is especially noticeable with the turbo engine, which pulls rather poorly on the bottoms, but this feature is successfully solved by chip tuning. The interior layout is quite original, in the sense that passengers in the second row have almost more space than in front. In addition, the rear sofa folds like a book, freeing up about a cubic meter of free space. The decorative trunk shelf is also well made. It can be installed on 2 levels, folds easily and does not rattle at all on bumps. The wheelbase of the crossover is 2,680 millimeters with an overall length of 4,640. The interior has harsh plastic, which is prone to cracking in cold climates and on bumps. The seat upholstery is quite solid, although the chairs themselves could be stiffer. The Hover H6 is well equipped: climate control, a Bluetooth audio system, full power accessories, an onboard computer and a pair of pillows as standard. In principle, all of the above is quite reliable and has not been noticed in frequent failures. The most annoying thing for the owners was the regular rubber mat, which regularly leaves under the pedals and interferes a lot. The second unpleasant moment is called a regular anti-theft, which often does not allow you to start the car for no reason. Not amenable to treatment. They say it goes away on its own, but with periodic relapses. The first engine with which the Hover H6 appeared on the Russian market was a 2-liter 150-horsepower GW4D20 diesel engine with a common rail CRS 3.2 injection system manufactured by Bosch. It was mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. Both units were developed for the most part by Great Wall itself, although the influence of the Japanese school is obvious. Diesel, they say, is Toyota. The box is similar to Mitsubishi. One way or another, it turned out well, except that it is noisy. Under the hood, a diesel engine growls, and under the bottom, the bearing of the input shaft of the box may begin to make noise. This is not considered a malfunction, and they are not in a hurry to change it under warranty. Noise appears as a kind of rattling at idle, reminiscent of the classic Niva. Instead of mechanics, you could buy a 4-speed automatic. It is quite reliable, unless, of course, you do not forget to change the oil and filter occasionally. No system malfunctions were found in the machine by official services. However, the machines themselves were sold in a very small batch and only among those machines that came from China. In the secondary market, cars with automatic transmission are almost never found. A turbocharged 1.5-liter engine is as common as a diesel, and maybe even more. Contrary to expectations, it does not require major repairs after 100,000 kilometers, although almost everyone begins to drive oil into the turbine after the first 50 to 60,000. Enthusiasts and fans of Hover showed unprecedented perseverance in trying to find Japanese counterparts to Chinese parts. It seems that the turbine is similar, but it doesn't fit along the flanges, and the attachment resembles something contracted, and the nozzles are almost the same. In fact, there are no direct analogs, and almost everything has to be ordered through official dealers or the internet. This makes repairs difficult and expensive, which is offset only by the relatively high reliability of the motors and the absence of obvious systemic problems. Even attempts to install gas equipment can be considered successful, although, given the very low consumption, driving on gas is not very justified. Eating 95 gasoline, Turbo Hover, on average eats 11 liters of fuel per 100 run. Smaller diesel ones, something like 9. At least that's what most owners say. Due to the noticeable turbo lag and poorly matched transmission numbers, the engines actively chip, raising the power to 190 horsepower. True, in case of unsuccessful forcing, the turbine operating at the limit quickly fails. There were cases when pipes were torn off from it, but more often the oil rut begins. Both diesel and gasoline engines do not like poor quality fuel, due to which injectors fail in the first place. You need good filters and an indispensable flushing of the fuel system at least once a year. At the time of this writing, only 30 Hover H6s were listed for sale across the country. Approximately half with the diesel engine, half with the gasoline turbo engine, all with mechanics, and almost 2/3 of all-wheel drive. Official sales of the Hover H6 have been discontinued, and sales of the Haval H6 are going smoothly. In 2014, a plant was opened in Lipetsk, and there were complaints about the cars that came out of its gates, complaints about build quality, gaps, loose fasteners, forgotten plugs, etc. Plans for the organization of production in Tula hung in the air, and a good car in principle was in about the same position. The expediency of its acquisition can be considered non-obvious, unless, of course, you take care of all maintenance issues. Then this spacious and quite modern crossover with a solid chassis and economical engines will not disappoint you.